Hey, good morning. Well, this is it, guys. This is officially the last video that I'll be doing for the PCT. Gotta say I'm a little excited and a little sad about that. But about 100 miles or so into Oregon right now. Try to make sure I capture some of the scenery here. I would say probably a couple of weeks away from finishing up Oregon. It's not going to take long. There are 2 fire closures ahead that we have to go around. One is from a current fire, and one is from a fire last year, I believe, that caused a lot of damage, so that section's still closed. So with that, plus the longer miles that I'm getting in each day, probably about 2 weeks, and be through Oregon. And then we'll go into Washington. Shouldn't take long there, 4 weeks maybe 5, depending on how it goes. And we'll be done. Had a lot of smoke this morning and a little bit of rain, some fog. It was really hard to hike this morning early, but it's great right now. Great temperatures, probably about 60 degrees. The sun's coming up. And really pretty scenery right now. These trees, I'll try to get up close to one. They have all this, I don't know, green stuff hanging down from the trees. This is really what I pictured Oregon looking like. You can see all this stuff. Honestly, I don't know what it's called, but it's all over the trees here. Been not a lot of water sources so far through Oregon. So I think after Crater Lake, I think the water sources pick up again. Not bad, but kind of have to expect to go. Sometimes, I think there's one coming up tomorrow maybe, where I think I've got to carry water for 18 miles before I get to another water source. So, but the temperature stays pretty good. Doesn't make it too difficult. All right, I'll see you. All right, gonna film some of the trail here today. This is still in southern Oregon, and we're at about mile 1735, I believe. And fortunately, at least on the trail right now, a lot of the smoke is cleared. But once if we get a chance to look out over the mountains up here, you still see a lot of smoke. Got some early morning hiking here in Oregon. About 200 miles into Oregon right now, and it's usually a lot brighter by now. It's about 6 a.m. But I can't tell if you can tell through here, but there's a pretty heavy layer of, I believe, smoke and fog this morning, because we're getting some sprinkles, and I can smell smoke, but not as bad as I've smelled it before. So I don't think all of that I'm seeing is smoke. I think there's I guess I have to pump several times.
Yeah. It's like being a pioneer, isn't it?
All right, so Oregon's not all super green and foresty. A little different view. Somewhere around mile 1800, I think. Picking some huckleberries this morning. I'm not sure I've ever even seen a huckleberry in my life until now. They're really good though. Some are dark, some are bright red. Very good. Not sure if you can see all of these little huckleberries all through here. I wish I could load up a bunch of these for my Aunt Wilma, who owns Rocky Top Winery in Gertie, Oklahoma. I bet she could make up a great batch of huckleberry wine for me. There's a whole, they're all throughout here. It's kind of a sad area to walk through here, looking at all this wildfire burning. The trees kind of all falling down. This is not from this year's fires. I think it's from last year, or I don't know. Could be several years, I don't know. Hate to see it though. We're at Crater Lake up here, up on the rim. What a beautiful lake. I think we're at mile like 18, 20 right now. So real fast here, we're at Frog Lake. And with Decades and Rita. Yes. I met them on the hitchhike here, and they are from the exact place I'm from in the Fort Worth area. Yep. So just wanted to get that on video real quick.
Lived in Keller and Haslett. So, oh, there goes
and
the water.
They just got married 2 weeks ago, so they are officially, they're called the Honeymooners. That's their two-person group trail name. Man, this is a tough stretch right now. It's about 100 degrees uphill in this deep sand, and man, it's just really tough. I think that's Mount Hood right there to the right, and I'm making my way to, I think it's called the Timberland Lodge, and that is the lodge where all of the exterior filming for the movie The Shining was, so that's kind of cool. I'll stop there and get something to eat. They have a restaurant there, and then probably camp in that area for the night. I'll film the lodge when I get up there closer to it, but man, the sand, this is wearing me out. This is the Timberline Lodge, and it is, the PCT actually passes right by this, so I didn't have to go off trail or anything to hit this, and there's restaurants in there. You can stay here. Exterior, when they filmed the movie The Shining, the movie by Stephen King, they used aerial shots of this hotel from the outside in that movie, so that was pretty cool. It's really kind of weird to see that 2,108 miles back to Mexico and only 550 miles to Canada. I can remember back to when I had just hit the 500 mile mark coming towards Canada. It seems like forever ago. And I remember hitting that point thinking, I've got so far to go, and now it's kind of weird. Thinking 550 miles. Used to that sounded like a lot. Now it sounds like only 550 miles to go, and I'll be there. So it seems to be going fast. Morning. In northern Oregon now, about 2 days from the Washington border. I'm very excited to make that crossing. We did have to skip a couple of sections back there due to the close because of some of the fires, and we're kind of getting into a section right now that wasn't closed, but it tells you to use caution if you want to decide if you're going to actually do this section or not, because I think it was last year it said they had some historic windstorms. So there were hundreds of trees that were blown down into the trail. They've been working to cut them away to open the trail back up, but it sounds like there's a lot of climbing over trees on the trail coming up, which is definitely going to slow things down a little bit. So kind of adjusted my mileage down to from 25 down to about 20 per day. And if it turns out that there aren't as many trees I have to climb over, they don't slow me down as much as I'm thinking they will, then I can still do the 25. But honestly, I feel pretty good with doing 20. Makes the day a little bit easier, and with only 550 miles to go and be in the middle of August, I feel very, very confident in a late September finish. So it's nice. I don't have to really worry about trying to rush, because there for a while I felt like it was going to end up being like the middle of October. And anyway, I got to get back soon. OU Texas coming up October 12th, so definitely got to be back before that, or sometime middle of October typically. So yeah, that's about it this morning. Looking forward to crossing the border and into Washington, and I'll talk to you soon. Trees are just covered in that. It's like hair. Look at the scenery here. This is beautiful. We're getting into that, we've been in it for a little while, that what's considered the blowdown section from that windstorm I talked about earlier, where all these trees had been blown down, and a lot of them were covering the trail, and they were cautioning people to possibly skip this section. I had considered it because a lot of hikers in the back, a few hundred miles back, had talked about possibly skipping this section because of all the trees we had to climb over. But I mean, you can see there's just, all of these have just blown down. Crazy. They're everywhere. But I believe it's the Forest Service that comes out, and you can tell that they've really done a great job of clearing the trail for us. You can tell where all these have been, all these trees that have blown down have been cut and removed or thrown off to the side or whatever to at least make the trail clear. So I bet this was, or I know it was before they get to do that, way worse, you know, trying to get through the trail before they trimmed some of these trees away and opened it back up again or cleared it. So I'm glad I didn't skip it though. I don't know how many people did end up skipping because of what it said on the website about, you know, exercising caution if you decide to go into this area. But I'm glad I didn't, because it's been a really pretty hike so far. I would have hated to have missed this. It's amazing. It got that windy and blew all these trees down. I haven't talked a whole lot about the water that we get from these creeks. You know, it gets a little tiring sometimes to have to constantly filter water that you need. But man, when you come across a good source like this, a nice creek, the water is so cold, and then plus we send it through a filter. It is the best water that you'll ever have. There is no store-bought water that tastes as good as water like this when it's cold and it's fresh, and then you send it through a filter also. That is I know it gets a little tiring sometimes having to filter water all the time, but the water's great though. It's nice that we've hit some section of trail to where we have so much water again. I think I might have mentioned this before, that a lot of times we've got to cross these pretty wide creeks and rivers that this one here is actually gonna be pretty tough to cross, but the trail will take you right to the creek or the river that you've got to cross. But it doesn't mean that you have to cross right where the trail takes you. So a lot of times I walk kind of up and down the banks here, and I just try to find a place that is easier to cross, like say a big tree over there that looks like a bunch of rocks around it. So I'm just gonna walk up and down this thing until I find an easy place to cross. This one's actually going pretty strong, one of the stronger that we've seen so far. I mean, probably worst case scenario, if I fell in, would just end up with really wet shoes and socks for a long time. I really don't want to do that. So I'm gonna keep walking up and down here. I'll eventually find a good place to cross. So that was not an easy crossing. I followed another guy that found a good spot, but all the river crossings we've done, some of the ones like in the Sierra, that one was maybe one of the most difficult. The guys down there, it's like right there on that log that he's about to step on, where it got a little sketchy for me. That with your backpack on, it's just your weight, it's tough to balance. See how he's having to use his hand. That's where those trekking poles come in really handy. I don't want you to see me filming anything. Hey, so I'm taking an alternate route off of the PCT to go up by Ramona Falls. It's an alternate route. It's pretty much exactly the same length as the actual PCT is. So I don't think I really lose or gain any miles on it. But it's supposed to be one of the most scenic, prettiest views on the entire trail, with lots of waterfalls and things. So definitely be worth the side trip to take this little alternate route. And then plus it hooks right back up with the PCT, so I don't have to like backtrack and go back. So I just head on through. But I'll film some of this once we get up a little closer. Wow, that's amazing. That is beautiful. I swear the temperature just dropped about 10 degrees down here. Wow, I just started this Ramona Falls loop and I can't stop filming. This is like some sort of, it's like a movie set in here. I mean, it is just gorgeous. And a break, man, you talk about a break from the heat. It's 100 degrees out there today and I really feel like down here with all these waterfalls and the shade and everything, I feel like it's like maybe 72 degrees. I am so glad someone left a comment on the Gut Hook app that said highly encouraged that we take this alternate trail. I want to say this might be the prettiest section of the entire PCT that I've seen so far. There was some pretty stuff in the Sierra section for sure, but I don't know, something about all this green and the waterfalls and I don't know, it just looks like something out of a movie set. I'm gonna stop filming. There's gonna be a long video. But this is what I was expecting Oregon to look like. I think I've said that a couple times now, but it's really looking like it now. It's an amazing hike today. Of all the challenges and struggles and the heat, the climbs, the soreness, everything that you go through when you come across stuff like this and you're out here and you've got the cool air and the sounds and the smells, it just makes it all worth it. If I don't drop my phone, we are way up here. This is still part of Eagle Creek Trail. It's that alternate trail that you take off of the PCT. You don't really lose any miles or gain any miles because of it. It's just I think it said it's the most popular alternate route on the entire PCT, just because of all the waterfalls and the great views. Unfortunately, it was closed for a few years. A pretty bad fire through here a few years ago. I think they just opened it back up here just a few months ago. All right, here we go. Last state coming up. We're gonna cross what's called the Bridge of the Gods right here, over this river and into Washington. And that will be the final state of the PCT, the final map on our Gut Hooks app. And that'll be it. So I'm really excited to walk across this bridge here. I didn't hit film. So if you're hiking the PCT, before you cross the Bridge of the Gods, be sure and stop by here and pick up some peaches or nectarines, pears, cherries, any other kind of fruit. They are the best ever.
Love you, hiker.
Sorry, the video's not going to be good. It's very windy up here, but walking across the Bridge of the Gods here, crossing from Cascade Locks, Oregon, into Washington. So we're crossing the border morning. So it's our first full day in Washington, and it's pretty much exactly what I expected so far. Just very, very thick with green everywhere. We've got a huge break in the weather today. It looks like our high is going to be 70 degrees, which is amazing. Lots of cloud cover. Kind of what I'm expecting in Washington is some pretty tough climbs coming up. It is not going to be as difficult as the Sierra section because we're not going to be at that kind of altitude. Remember the Sierra section, we were up over 10,000 feet pretty much the whole time, and then climbing like an additional 3,000 feet to get over a pass. But here in Washington, we're going to have some 3,000 foot elevation gains. So some tough climbs, but I don't think our altitude is ever going to be over maybe like somewhere around maybe 5,000, 5,500 feet, I think is the highest elevation that we get to. Maybe a little higher than that, but nothing like the Sierra section. I'm expecting lots of mosquitoes through part of here. My bug net here that I've had the whole time, I have not put that thing on yet. There's been a few sections where I felt like I probably should put it on, but I've survived without it. I haven't tried it yet, but I don't really want to hike with that thing over my face. But I'm kind of expecting to have to do that here in Washington from what I've heard and read on Guthook. Also expecting that maybe you could get maybe we'll get rain in Washington, and could possibly even hit some snow the further north we get, depending on how fast I get there. But shooting for 22 miles today. I'm trying to get to Packwood by the town of Packwood, where I will stay and rest up and resupply. And I've got a package being mailed to me there. I'm shooting to get there by Tuesday, I believe, Monday or Tuesday. And to do that, I need to average about 22 miles a day to do that, and should be able to pull that off. And all right, that's it. Got to get going. These peaches I got at that fruit stand yesterday are so good, so juicy. They're just like making a huge mess here. So good. Hey, so yesterday was sunny, 95 degrees, and I was sweating like a stuck pig yesterday. And today it's about 55 degrees, windy and rainy. So one of the many things I've learned about this trail is to never be surprised by the ever-changing weather. Never know what to expect. Always be prepared. Fortunately, I had all my rain gear pretty close to the top of my pack, so that wasn't a big deal to get everything back out again. I didn't know this was going to happen. I assumed it was just going to be another 95 degree day. So it's a nice break. Maybe a tiny too wet for me, but not bad. I'm enjoying the hike today. It's a little cold. And I am loving Washington right now. The temperature is just amazing, and just the thickness of all the green. It is, man, this southern Washington is just beautiful so far. And like the coolest thing, I don't understand what's going on, like with the lack of flies and bees and ants. I was expecting Washington to be worse for mosquitoes and flies, and maybe that's going to come later, but Northern Oregon, I had those biting flies all over, just normal flies buzzing around me, bees constantly buzzing by me, ants always around my tent, those black ants. And I don't think there are any flies, or I don't think there's any flying insects in southern Washington. And I don't think I've seen any ants either. It's nice, I can sit down, take a break, and not have to constantly shoo flying insects and ants away from my face and my food and stuff. But man, just really loving Washington so far. It definitely has the potential to be my favorite section of the trail. Now this is just a picture perfect morning here in Washington. It's sunny. It's about 65 degrees. There's this really cool, light, crisp breeze blowing right now. The forest smells like it just rained here recently. The trail is amazing. And this time, what are we, mid-August, back where I'm from in Texas, man, it would still be brutally hot, even at this time of the morning. And this is just like, it's like I walked right into fall already, which is definitely my favorite time of year, but just a perfect morning. That's a pretty cool view. That fog settled in over the forest like that, over the mountains. It's been kind of a tough 3-day stretch. This will be day 3 of hiking pretty much constantly in the rain or this constant drizzle that's going, and it's pretty cold too, so everything we have is wet. I keep my sleeping bag and my camp clothes tucked down at the bottom of my backpack in kind of a heavy-duty trash bag, so my camp clothes and my sleeping bag are pretty much always decently dry. If I can hike all day through the rain and cold, if I can at least climb into a dry sleeping bag and some dry camp clothes, I can survive like that tiny little luxury. But it's like the trail's saying, hey, you're not done yet. You still got Washington, and Washington is not easy, that's for sure. Hiking through a big section of volcano rock here. Where am I at? Getting close to mile 2300. The rains has stopped for a while, so grateful for that. There's no drizzle coming down. My shoes are destroyed. Ready to get the new ones and dry my feet out. Looks like the sun is trying to come out. That would be great. The sun comes out, I'm taking a break and taking everything out of my pack, laying it in the sun and letting it dry out. All right, hopefully this sun holds up for 30 minutes or an hour or so. I've got my tent, some clothes, jacket, sleeping pad, everything. Laying it all out here in the sun for a few minutes, hopefully for about an hour, and let it all dry, because it is really, really wet. And anyway, you gotta take advantage of this sun while I've got it. Hey, so we've been dealing with this misty, rainy weather for a while now. I know I showed yesterday me trying to hang a lot of my gear and clothes out to dry. And about 30 seconds after I did that, this rainy stuff, misty, fog, whatever it is, moved in again. But I read an article the other day, it was about a week ago, when I was looking into Washington, the Washington PCT section, just so I'd know what to expect. And someone referred to it as the silent hammer, and I get it now. Why? Because you're so focused on getting through the desert section, and then there's a ton of focus to get through the Sierra section. Those are the two that I believe most people consider the hardest. I would definitely consider them the hardest. You know, then you deal with the wildfires of Northern California, so that gets you distracted. Then you kind of cruise through Oregon, because it's not flat, but it's relatively flat compared to the other sections. So you cruise through Oregon, and well, then you hit Washington, and man, it just, these climbs are really tough, and the weather is challenging. So I'm glad that I at least knew what to expect, that I looked up and read about it, and I knew what was coming. So it hasn't caught me completely off guard. But It's definitely a tough section. And I would just love for the sun to come out for just a little while. It's been like this every day for 4 days now. And I just want some sun to dry stuff out. You know how, well, so I don't have a lot of clothes. I carry, you know, 2 pairs of socks, 2 shirts, 1 pair of shorts. So everything stinks all the time anyway, like BO, and you know, your socks smell like dirty socks. But when everything is damp for several days, then you add in that smell of mildew. Man, this is gonna be the longest video ever because I can't stop videoing this stuff. Unless something dramatically changes. I mean, even with the tough climbs and the wet, kind of cold, wet weather that we've had to deal with so far, unless something dramatically changes, Washington is definitely gonna go down as my favorite part of the entire trail. This place is amazing. I could video this place all day long, but then this video is gonna end up being like 2 hours long. Fixing to come up on a place called Knife's Edge, some kind of ridge that we've got to walk along that's right at the top of this mountain along this ridge line. It's supposed to be kind of freaky a little bit from what somebody told me. I don't know if that's true or not, we'll see. But looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, it's so much different than the Sierra section, which is, I think, is most people's favorite part. And the Sierra was definitely a very pretty section. And, you know, the altitude just made it so difficult. You had the altitude, the really tough climbs there. I mean, it was definitely worth it, but here you've got the tough climbs, and but the altitude's not bad at all. You know, never going up over 7,000 feet or so. It's not bad, and maybe I hit it just right, you know, as far as the weather goes, but all of the fear, not fear mongering, but all of the stuff people were talking about, all of the mosquitoes and flies and stuff, I haven't encountered that at all so far. And I'm, you know, getting pretty far into Washington. Maybe they're gonna pop up later or something, but I've had virtually no issues with flying insects, which has been a huge bonus. Haven't had to break out that fly net that goes over my head. Haven't had to break that out the whole trip. I thought surely I would here in Washington from everything I was reading, but no, not yet. I mean, just a gorgeous state so far. Well, it is late August, and I'm getting to hike across some snow. I'm gonna say it's pretty cool. A little slick. Whoop. Maybe I better stop videoing and pay attention. It's a really pretty view of the trail today. Walking along the edge of Dewey Lake here, about 3 miles away from a place called Chinook Pass. And another day of rainy, wet, and cold most of the day. We saw some sun for a little while. It was about 30 minutes of sun, but for the most part, it has been pretty cold. I'd say this morning when I was hiking, and that it was that drizzly, foggy, light rain, and it was probably, I don't know, it might have been 35 degrees, but it was really cold. Anyway, just a really pretty view. Walking up to a cabin here that is open for us to stay at, and since I've got in all my miles for the day, and it would be a great chance to spend the night out of the rain and wake up dry tomorrow, so I am gonna stay in this cabin tonight. Most likely, unless it's jam-packed full of other hikers. That is Swiss Miss and Hobo. They're from Switzerland. Good people. That is Detour over there. I think. Is that Detour?
No.
Oh.
Detour's on this side.
Oh.
On this side.
There he is. Oh, sorry, I just videoed him after he got through taking a biological break.
I think because I did the basic weather and it does 48 hours.
Yeah.
So 47 in the morning and sunny. So that's 47 in the morning is good. Today it was like 40 this morning, 42.
And I got up pretty early to get out of there.
So I am taking advantage of this very, very sunny day. I've got everything laid out. Sleeping pad, tent, some clothes. I've got everything laid out to dry. And we've got another sunny day again tomorrow, so it is going to be nice getting to my camp tonight, and for sure having dry sleeping bag and tent and everything. That's going to be awesome. All right, a little view of the trail here coming out of Snoqualmie Pass, and I think I'm about halfway through Washington now, down to about 2 weeks, and I am very excited to be done. Someone asked me if getting this close to being done, if I was feeling sad at all. And my answer to that is no way. I don't feel an ounce of sadness. All I feel is excitement and relief that I'm almost done. Glad I did it. It's great challenge. And I will never do another long hike like this ever again. I don't think. Just some small ones. I think section hiking is my thing. Maybe 100 or 200 miles, something like that, but this was a little over the top. And I'm just ready to be done. Ready to be done with this hike. Ready to take a shower every day and wear some clean clothes. Watch this weather transformation. It's sunny, 50 degrees, looking good. Did you bring all that cold weather in with you?
No, just up for the day.
Man, it was all sunny, and
It was.
walk past here, there's a big big
clouds.
blanket of fog rolling in.
Yeah, I can still see Mount Stewart over there, just barely.
That's cool watching it come in like that, though.
Yeah.
I know it's going to make it colder.
Yeah. How far are you headed?
Good morning. So I want to get this on
video, something I really don't want to forget about. About 10 days away from being done, and I will say my excitement for finishing is being greatly overshadowed by the conditions for today and possibly tomorrow. So for me to get into town when I need to get into town here in a couple of days, I have to do 25 miles today and 25 tomorrow, and the conditions are definitely not exciting to do 25. It's about it's a little bit after 4. It's about 4:05 right now, and I really need to be moving right now. I was hoping to be on the trail by 4, but it's really cold, it's raining, and I just don't want to go out there. I have every bit of clothing, all of my warm gear. I have everything on. I have Walmart sacks over my socked feet inside my shoes. I have gloves, and I have some big Ziploc bags that I'm going to put over my gloves to keep my hands from getting wet. But so 25 miles through this, and the terrain's been really rough lately. It's been tough to get 20 miles. So to do 25, it's going to be a full, 14-hour day probably in this mess. So anyway, I'm gonna get going, try to get all this rain gear on, and it's just, man, it's really hard to get up and get out of your tent when you know you're gonna step out into. It's not raining really hard right now, so I probably should get moving while it's eased up a little bit. But knowing that you're gonna have, I'm gonna have probably 2.5 hours of hiking in the dark, in the rain and the wind. It's just going to be a challenging day for sure, and it's definitely overshadowing. Right now I can't even get excited about the fact I'm almost done, because all I can think about is today and tomorrow. So anyway, got to get moving, and I'm sure it'll all end up well, and I'll look back on this and laugh one day, hopefully. So talk to you soon. Well, the trail today is as bad as I expected. It's been about 6 miles of this rocky mess in the rain. I've got to get 25 miles, and I am not making good time at all. This is just a day I would love to quit. So the last 3 days have been just absolutely miserable. It's cold, the rain, the climbs, just really no other way to describe it, just miserable days. But I don't know if it was a movie or something, but I've heard this saying somewhere along the lines that the bitter makes the sweet sweeter. So those miserable days of rain and cold, snow that we've dealt with the last 3 days, everything being wet, climbs being crazy. But now we get a day of sun, and man, do I appreciate the sun more than I ever have maybe in my life. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Hope I'm filming this good so you can see it. But it is a beautiful day, and I've got all my stuff dried out. So I am in a very good mood today. But yesterday, man, I was one cranky dude yesterday. It was it was just a bad few days. But today's great, and we will enjoy today. This is Lake Chelan, and took a break from hiking today to hang out in Stehekin and take this ferry across the lake just to take a little break. And boat broke down a little earlier, so it's taken us a long time. It's about a 4-hour boat ride, but just really beautiful views out here, great weather. So I'm gonna hang out here in Stehekin, and they say there's some kind of bakery that you got to try that has an amazing cinnamon roll. And the only way you can get into Stehekin is to either hike in or take this ferry or a plane. There are no roads that go into this little village that we're going to. you some views of the hike today. About right about mile 2600, so just about 50 miles away from the border. So getting very close. So 50 miles to the border, and then have to do another 30 miles. Have to turn around and hike right back 30 miles to the pass, the trailhead, where I will have to hitch a ride into Seattle. So getting very close. This is Saturday, so I've already got it worked out. It's 26 miles tomorrow, 20 miles on Monday, 25 miles on Tuesday, and a short 10-mile hike on Wednesday that'll put me at the trailhead and hitch a ride and hopefully into Seattle by no later than 1 o'clock or so, and then on a plane the very next day. And getting very close. So do I feel sad yet? No, I do not feel sad yet, but I know for a fact I'm gonna miss a lot of this, a lot of these views. That's for sure, but no sadness yet, just excitement. Good morning. So I'm about 20 miles from the border, and it's like 7 a.m. on Monday. So I will not reach the border today. I would reach the border and camp there, but there are no campsites at the border. So I'm going to get to about, there's a campsite 3.5 miles from the border. So I will get there and camp tonight, hit the border early tomorrow morning, turn around, hike back this direction, because we have to turn around and hike 30 miles back to what's called Hart's Pass, and that's where we'll try to catch a hitch off the trail to Seattle. Typically what happens, if this COVID crap wasn't going on, typically what happens is the border to Canada is open, and you get to the border, you hike another 12 miles to a place called Manning Park, and you can hitch from there, and but the border's closed, so everybody gets to the border and they have to turn around and hike back 30 miles to Hart's Pass, which is not a big deal. I mean, you've hiked 2,700 miles, so hiking back another 30 is not a huge deal. But it's been kind of cool this morning, so I'm so close that I'm catching a lot of people that have already finished. Basically, they've hit the border and now they're turning around and doing their hike back to Hart's Pass. So I'm catching a lot of people and running into some people I haven't seen in a long time. And you know, it's kind of cool seeing these people that have finished and get to tell them congratulations. And anyway, it's been pretty cool this morning seeing those people that have finished on their way back. And but that'll be me on Wednesday, and I am looking forward to it. And it's been great here lately. We've had, you know, we went through that spell of a lot of rain and really cold, but we've hit about 4 days of no rain, which has just been, man, that has just made all the difference in the world as far as the conditions and at least my morale. You know, it's still pretty cold in the evening, but I can deal with cold, but cold, windy, and rainy, that really stinks. So anyway, that's it for today, and won't have many more video clips after this. Should be wrapping it up here, maybe one more clip, and that's about it. So all right, we'll talk to you later. Hey, so it's still Monday, and the plans changed a little bit. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be getting down here to the lake, to this campsite, and then I will set up my camp, set up my tent and everything, and then I'll just grab a really light pack, you know, some water, a few snacks, and take a really light pack called slack packing, and I'm gonna head all the way up to the border tonight with that really light pack. It's just gonna be like another 5 miles to the border and then 5 miles back to my camp. And then tomorrow morning I'll get up early and and I'll just have a 25-mile hike to get me all the way back to Harts Pass. And I will leave super early tomorrow, maybe on the trail by 3 a.m. I bet is probably what I'll shoot for. And that would get me back to Harts Pass by hopefully 3 or 4 p.m. and give me a chance to possibly catch a hitch out of there on Tuesday night. And if not, I'll just camp there at Harts Pass. They have some good campsites. I'll camp there and then start trying to hitch again on Wednesday morning. I'm really worried about hitchhiking, about being able to find a ride out of there, because all of my plans are centered around that: hotel reservations, airline tickets, everything. So I've got to get out of there on Wednesday for sure. So, and this will end up being my first and only 30-mile day. So kind of wanted to break that 30-mile barrier a few times, and this just seems like the perfect time to do it. And then plus they'll be doing it with a much lighter pack, so it shouldn't be nearly as bad. And the 5 miles to Canada from pretty much right about here, I'm fixing to get to the campsite right now, but the next 5 miles to Canada is all downhill. Of course, that means uphill coming back, but again, with that light pack, it'll be much easier. So that's the plan. So hitting the border today. Talk to you later. Alrighty, here is some video. We are 2 miles from the Canadian border, and I think it'll still be light when I get there. I should be there in the next 30 minutes or so, but want to get some of this on video before I get there in case it's dark. I can't believe I'm seeing that. A year and a half ago, I didn't even know this trail existed. Well, what do you know? I made it. All right, now maybe I feel a little sad. Maybe not sad, maybe just a little emotional. All right, that's it. Let's turn around and go back.